Thank you for staying with us. We indeed love Nigeria. Dr. Ikmosa says the protest is a great opportunity provided to this government to leave a legacy for posterity. Tony Fale says, I pray the End SARS now will galvanize the needed political renaissance in our young people and spur us into proper positioning to dominate the nation's political space as the only legit way to take over governance in a democracy is through the ballot. Falawia says, I'm close to 30 and I don't want children to be born in a country that they too will shout up NEPA. They did not meet. Nigeria must be better now, not ego better like our past generations believed. No hide and seek in this protest against government. Tony says the revival must not end here. The young people should form structures through registering new political parties and get good numbers because politics is a game of numbers. And finally, Brendan Alamezie says, the one Nigeria, the people in the position of authority speak of now before them. How come they are not believing in one Nigeria? The voice of the Nigerian youth are the real one Nigeria. They have spoken and it should be listened to and acted upon. Those are some of the tweets that are coming, and plenty of other tweets are coming. But let's switch and look at the World Food Day. Every 16th day in October every year, the world celebrates food. The day is used to promote global awareness and action for those who suffer from hunger and the need to ensure healthy diets for all. The theme for this year's World Food Day is Grow, Nourish, Sustain. Together, our actions are our future. We have with us to look at all of this the African farmer Mogaji joins us via Skype, and Dr. Kende Makinde. Okay, Mogaji is on phone. Dr. Kende Makinde is a country manager Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, and he joins us via Skype. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me start with the African farmer Mogaji. World Food Day. We celebrate this every year, but then there's still that idea out there that there's still a lot of hunger, even though we celebrate World Food Day. So has it just been about the words and no action, or little or no action?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I hold the thought also that it's just a day that is celebrated here because the developed world celebrates it. In terms of us working towards the day every year for the significance of to celebrate milestones. We celebrate the day, but we really don't see quite a lot of milestones. So around here, maybe we need to pick another day, or we really need to refocus and set goals that come 2021. 1, 2, 3 will be the goals, and we'll celebrate achievements. But for now, we'll celebrate activities, not achievements for October 16 every year.
But should that be the situation? What can we do differently, especially considering the fact that we have a large population of farmers in Nigeria, hobby subsistent farmers mostly, but should that be the situation?
Well, I'm not even limiting it to the farmers. I'm talking about the value chain, the whole value chain, plus farmers, plus processors, marketers, exporters. You know, we're not seeing the chain being influenced, and that is not what should be. And I think that you can't celebrate anything you don't set a goal to achieve. So primarily is we need to have goals. What goals? How many metric tons of rice precisely? How many herbicides do we want to sell? You know, how many families, what's the metric? How many families would we be feeding? What's the average price of rice? We should say, okay, rice, 2021, a bag of rice should be 10,000. and this is what we have to do. So even if we don't achieve the goal, and it's not, 10,000, if it's 11 or 12,000, we can say, oh, we achieved 80%, 70% of the goal. So when there's no goal, no goal post, how do we know when to score? So we need, like from the Ministry of Agriculture mainly, for us to know this is what we are trying to achieve in clear terms. But there's no clear term anywhere. There's nothing on the table. So until there's something on the table, it will just still be activity without accomplishment.
You know, let me get to Mr. Dr. Makinde, Country Manager Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, who joined us via Skype. Dr. Makinde, throughout history, food has almost always acted as a catalyst for development. But today we are talking about food safety as an issue. Should that be the position, especially when we celebrate World Food Day every year?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nilta. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I think food safety is very paramount because people don't just eat. Uh, Eating has to do with living. And if people don't eat the right kind of food, then productivity will be affected and even life also can be involved. So it's important to ensure that people are not just eating, but they are eating the right kind of food in the right quantity, in the right amount, that is able to sustain a living and make them productive to be able to contribute to national economy. So attention to food safety is very critical and it should be part of the agenda for food security, and nutrition in Africa.
But won't you be talking about food safety after you've seen the food? I mean, Mr. Mogaji was talking about the fact that in Nigeria, for instance, it's always been about the words when we talk about World Food Day. But in terms of action, in terms of productivity, you hardly see that. So if in that kind of space, should you be talking about food safety when there is no food or not enough food?
No, where I agree with you, Nyota. You cannot have food safety if you don't have food. But the situation we are is not that we really don't have food. We don't have enough, but we do have, some food. But even no matter how small it is, it's still got to be safe for consumption. All right, so we need to give attention to how the consume is. Now, I agree with you. You first want to have sufficient amount of quantity before you then look at the quality. Yeah, usually that's what happens in life. But the truth of the matter, is that we do have food. We don't have enough. We're still working on it, but we are almost there because there are a lot of things, change. Things are not as they used to be before. We've made some progress. If you consider this against the background that we also have an increased population, all right, and we're also having a lot of other challenges, political challenges, as we see, happening all around. So you will see that some movement is already happening, and we're only just, some moments away from having, a transformed agriculture that can be able to feed the country.
Is it this movement now that informed the choice of the theme Grow, Nourish, Sustain, Together, Our Actions, Our Future? Is it this movement that informed this theme?
Yes, this team is part of the efforts to ensure, that people not only have food, but they are also eating right quality. If people don't get properly nourished, what will happen is you are creating a lot of health problems. Okay, that's going to trigger some other sets, challenges, for the economy. So nourishing our people also notes that we're able to give the food. And so food availability is an important part, but the quality of the food that's also coming to the populace, needs to be looked at and needs to be ensured. So I think we're in the right direction, uh, giving attention to not only the quantity, availability of food, but also the way in which we use that food. And things like nutrition messaging is an important part of this because you can have the food, but if you don't know how to combine them properly to give you nutritive elements, then you will still be suffering. Okay, even though you have the food. So how do people combine foods together to make sure that they have appropriate nutrients? okay, for the body. It's important. It's not sufficient that you just have food. It is much more important to ensure that you have other means of ensuring that you get the most from the food that you have. And the process of ensuring that we get the most nutrients from the food that is available is all that we're talking about in this World Food Day.
Okay, Mr. Mogaji, let me bring this to you. Approximately 14% of food produced for human consumption is lost between the different stages of this food production, from harvest to, indeed, in all the different stages, at least approximately 14%. What can be done to minimize these losses?
Well, value addition, that's the only way to minimize the food wastage. And how do we do this? The practical way is to fund or support cottage sectors. And what do I mean by that is most of the food is produced in rural suburbs. And so moving it out bad roads, the transportation, and even quality of seeds, all these things play a crucial role. So if we set up things is that from harvest to processing, shorter. Also that most of the things we grow, the seeds don't produce products that produce that when you process, many of them cannot have longer shelf life. So what we should be looking at is shortening that time between harvest and processing. And secondly, I am advocating that we need to have two standards. There's a global standard, the nourishing and everything that the World Food Day theme is. It's beautiful for the developed world. But is it applicable here? When you don't have enough food, nourishing is not number one on your mind again. So can we begin to have two standards of tomato puree or tomato paste, where one is global. People who want to do global can go global. On the other hand, we have the Nigerian standard. Maybe that instead of having a shelf life of 3 years, it can have 1.5 or 1 year. The reason why Nigerians buy substandard products from Asia, though they know it's substandard, is price. So it will be cheaper for us, and what ought to go to waste will be converted. And even when it is converted, it can be prolonged. And these are not theories, these are practical. So we need to add value and encourage the youth to go into the marketing or the secondary value addition. That, for me, is a low-hanging fruit that can create jobs and ensure food security and safety for us.
But when you say we need to apply some of these things to Nigeria and encourage the youth, for instance, to go into the value chain of agriculture, what aspects would you be looking at directly?
Well, we can get more people involved in value addition, fabrication, maintenance, and the accessories that go into it. So if you are using sachet, you have more people doing that. So, but marketing is crucial. Marketing, distribution. Once you're adding value from source, from the rural community, then the other value chain of transportation, the equipment, the maintenance, distribution, all those things would add up to it. But that value addition, cottage, small, not big. The big processing is not really working in the country. Why? Because big equipment require massive electricity, large investments. Many of the parts you don't find in the country, but you have local artisans, that can adjust something or tie a tube to it. But you can resolve a lot of things when it comes into the rural, when you are processing in the rural community. So cottage, small, very small. That's how Malaysia developed. That's how China developed. That's how India is currently developed, is all around small cottage.
Are you saying that Nigeria can feed itself in the face of things like weather, changing weather, the food crisis in Kebbi State, for the rising food prices, the ban on food importation. Can Nigeria
Mhm.
feed herself?
Nigeria can feed herself in record time. And I say record time, but we need to focus more on productivity as against production. Productivity means yield per hectare. And yield per hectare also has to do with paying attention to the nutrition because garbage in, garbage out. So irrespective of climate change, you don't have climate change affecting the whole country at the same time. So if we are planning well, we should know that, okay, NIMET is doing a fantastic job now. So we can say, okay, since we can predict, then we can plan. I can tell you, I'm a field person. I've been in the field for over 20 years, practically. Now we're moving into policy. But I can tell you that in a space of 3 years, climate change or no climate change, reality, not what they are telling us from abroad. Reality, in 3 years, we can have good storage in terms of for our food security, grains in the silos, and that's what ensures food security when we are focusing on productivity as against just production. So that means yield per hectare is very crucial, or per acre.
Okay, but let me take this to you, Dr. Makinde. A lot more people within the country, Nigeria and indeed Africa, focus more on access and less on the nutritional value. Is there a way to balance the two?
Yes, thank you very much, Newta. Yeah, I agree with my colleague that we do need to have improved productivity, and that's a lot of the focus that AGRA puts on this by
Okay,
ensuring that we. Can you hear
Dr.
me?
Makinde, yeah, I can hear you, but we'll just, can you just hold your thought? We'll go on a quick break. We'll come back to pick it up from where you left off, please. Thank you for staying with us. We're looking at the World Food Day, and we have Mr. Mogaji and Dr. Makinde here with us to discuss this matter. Dr. Makinde, you were talking about the need to balance access and nutrition.
Yes, thank you. We need to balance both at the same time. Now, access we can increase by enhancing productivity, just like my colleague just said. And Agra is doing a lot on this, deploying technologies to smallholder farmers to enable them enhance their productivity and reduce the gap between the actual yield and the potential that farmers can get. But in terms of enhancing, quality, there are a lot of things that we can do. We can combine foods in forms that releases sufficient nutrients to people. I talked about nutrition messaging, things which help people to know how to combine the foods that they have to get the most out of it. But there are other means like food fortification. All right, people can, fortify their foods. Now we have new forms of foods also coming up where you can combine protein, and carbohydrates, together. You don't have to eat just one form. You can mix your food in such a way that it gives you all that your body requires. Now, even the way we process and package foods, when we're talking about safety and quality, they all actually start from the field. Okay, ensuring that we're not planting, with chemicals that can endanger the consumers, and then also ensuring that the process of processing these foods, they meet quality standards. If we enforce those things, then we will find that we're doing much more good and helping our people to be able to live a more healthy, and balanced life. We certainly, can raise the volume of food that is available, and that's where all effort is going to enhancing our systems and making sure that we are getting increased productivity, for the smallholder farmers. And then farmers are also able to access markets. This is one of the focus area of Agra's work, so that when they get more money from marketable surplus, they can use the rest of that money to take on other food items and diversify their diets, okay, in a manner that makes the body gets better. So it's not just putting food in. I think that's critical message that has to go out. What benefits the body is that the body has the right nutrients that it needs to fight diseases, that it needs, not only to stay active and work, but to ensure that you have a sustainable, healthy life that can guarantee longer life. So I think we have to balance both. And I believe that efforts are already on the way. I know that the government is doing quite a lot to raise awareness and consciousness, okay, of the citizenry in terms of ensuring that they care about the kind of food that they eat, just like NAFDAC is doing for chemicals.
But let me stay with you here and ask this question. Are you aware of the food safety net?
Yeah, please go ahead.
How much of an effect would that safety net have on the nutrition and food generally in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, the food safety net will have, a substantial effect, on both nutrition, and food safety, because when you eat, the right kind of food, okay, and you mix them in the proper way that it needs to be, then it helps a large proportion, of our populace to be able to have access, to good diet. So I think it's important, to continue to focus on this and to ensure that we provide all the necessary ingredients that the rural households particularly, do require to be able, to ensure that they work within, safety margins, for the different kinds of foods and elements that they combine together to make the diets, that is consumed.
Mr. Mogaji, many farmers store but get less for their produce, and many say the solution is strengthening the value chain. You said that several times in your submissions today. But what would you say about this, the hindrance to this, or what is hindering that value chain? And what's the quickest way to resolve this matter?
Well, the quickest way is to get food faster to consumers. And let me take a case of like Mount 12, and I'm not talking theory. Now, if you're bringing like watermelons to Mount 12, the moment the parking bay is saturated, there's no other place to park, the prices of watermelons begin to drop. Same for tomatoes, same for all the products. So it's not, and the thing is, the moment the price begins to drop, the earnings of the farmers also begin to drop. Meanwhile, places like Victoria Island, Lekki, Surulere, Ikeja, they want to buy, so they will buy what is available, not necessarily what was brought in. So if we decentralize those markets and get markets in each local government, precisely in every local government, like in Lagos now, let there be a market. So on a weekly basis, they can move this farm produce directly, and people within that local government can access the food better. To harvest tomatoes, you harvest it every 5 days. So they can plan their production such that it will be coming out and move to market directly. People want to buy more, especially with the economic challenges we have now. But not everybody can go to Mount 12. The people who go to Mount 12 will make more money, as against the farmers. And also right now, the dynamics is changing. The merchants in Mount 12 are the ones funding the farmers. They are the ones who own the logistics company. So they determine the price, which is outside of government now. So we need private sector to step into that area of the distribution, which is move it fast in the local government. We need government to do what they know how to do best, the enabling environment. And the moment we begin to have more food getting to local governments where people can buy, we will reduce the food shortages. And the farmers can make more money.
When you say decentralize the market, you give an example like mile 12. Accessibility or access roads. Mile 12 is located at the point, is like almost at the entrance into Lagos. So when you say decentralize and put a market like that in every local government, you're not concerned about what it would take, the impact on the quality of the produce by the time it goes from the farms into those inner parts of Lagos. You're not concerned about that?
Now, I've been doing this at least minimum commercially 15 years, commercially. So on a Friday night, knowing it's a Saturday market, we can move it in once a week. We can move it in the night. And by morning, everybody is established. The buses have moved. The challenge of traffic is reduced in the night. So they can come in the night. And currently, all the food we take in Lagos comes in the night. But it comes in trailers. So it needs to come in 18 passenger buses. All the food that come from Southwest, when I say all, I mean all. Southwest does not use trailers. So the food in Southwest needs to come in buses, and they just need to open those channels in the night. And we're getting something wrong in the country. I've found extensively in the north, in the northeast, everywhere in the part of the country. Well, except for maybe some eastern states. And what needs to happen is our processing zones need to be in the north. The northern region has no business bringing all those tomatoes, peppers to the south. We should be processing for export in those places. They have land, they have equipment, they have solar. We can use solar there. While the Southwest should be producing and moving with small vehicles. So where we are having a lot of wastage is primarily that those big trailers have to travel long hours without refrigeration and things go bad. But with the buses, I stand to be corrected. But the buses, 18 passenger buses, bring food around Southwest. And that can maneuver during the evenings. And Saturday, Sunday, we do the market and we move out. It's been done in various countries. We just need to move out of the box. And let me quickly just chip this in. It may be off, but do you know that the bakery close to Channel TV, the bakery there has grapes? The real grapes we get in California and co. We have not challenged the status quo. So when you check that place, that grape, that the one they say cannot grow in Nigeria, is growing there. I've seen it. The grape is growing in Gombe. I've seen it. We've not challenged the status quo, and that's why we're where we are. We need to be challenging what used to work so that we can get new things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mogaji. Let me get the two of you to weigh in on this one as we begin to wind down. The theme of the World Food Day this year is grow, nourish, sustain. Together, our actions are our future. Now, currently in Nigeria, citizens are out demanding for reform. They are demanding for change. Yes, it started off by the youth, but right now, even the older generation have come out to join. And celebrating World Food Day, one begins to wonder, what does this theme mean for Nigeria now, even in the current situation we're in?
Is that to me or to Mr.
I'll start
Makinde?
with you, Mr. Mogaji, then come to Dr. Makinde.
Okay. Against popular opinion, this may not be the best time to say this, considering the challenges with youth and government. But I will tell you this. This administration has put in a lot visibly in trying to ensuring food security, and their actions have shown from the anchor borrowers and a lot of other incentives and initiatives in trying to get food security, food safety across the value chain. So I give it to them as a practitioner of over 25 years. However, that saying that our action is our future, we need to have a more holistic conversation. We need to bring in more youth. And I say that because the youth see the future, but the elderly people don't see the future. They want to maintain. So in the Ministry of Agriculture, in the Ministry of Water Resources, the food security needs to be in the hands of the youth. And I say that carefully also because experience also matters in food security, safety, sustainability. We have them, but they also need to be trained. They need to understand how things work. It's a beautiful idea to say we can do it. And many of them can do it. but the experience required needs to be learnt on the job. So we need to bring them in so that we can have the nourishment. They are more conscious of nourishing foods that have good nutrients more than the other people. So we need to marry that. And so food security, we need to grow together, and our actions. Our actions need to show that we are interested in the youth, and they are the ones that will be in the tomorrow that we're planning for.
Dr. Makinde.
Thank you very much. Yes, I also like to applaud the government because we partner with government in this process of agricultural transformation, and it's clear that government has shown a lot, of political, willingness, to see a change, in the landscape. Now, however, I think it is important, for us to continue to work together as a team. What happens with agriculture is that a lot, of the change that we desire will have to come, from above the governance system. And this is where coordination and alignment to national priorities become very critical and important. So to be able to help the youth to connect to the transformation that we want to see in agriculture, we need to make it a bit more attractive for them. And this is where issues around ensuring that we have the right environment. And we also put in place, support systems that enables the youth to be able to stay on the farm and be able to contribute. When we're talking about food safety, those are youths who are already gone to school. They can easily adapt to this. Currently, we are using a lot of these youths, for instance, as village-based advisors to be able to support our smallholder farmers and bring, new learnings, to smallholder farmers to be able, to improve on what they are doing and farm much more profitably, much more healthy, in a much more healthy manner. So all of these, the system that needs to be in place, things that are broken, we have to fix them. And this is the big job that all of us need to do together. It's not that we have a system that we cannot quickly, work and make it productive, and helpful for our youth. It's just that we need to work together to make this possible. So government is changing things. You probably know that we have already. We now have a new seed act. We have a new fertilizer act. Policies are being put in place to ensure that all of those things that make for wastages and make for poor qualities, are getting out, of our market. This is the direction that we need to go, but we need to ensure that we are pulling all of this together at once. Agriculture is like the spoke of a wheel. Everything has got to move together, because if you have a problem on one side, it's going to lead to a problem on the other side, and the whole chain, may not be able to move to work together. So I think there is a lot of hope for the future, and I'd like to also encourage Nigerians and let them know that yes, we are taking the right decisions as we're moving forward. We just need to work together, be more focused, and be better aligned and coordinated, in the way that we work on our national priorities. And perhaps before too long, we will all be there and see, a new status, for agriculture. So, but the important thing is we should know it is doable, and when we all work together, the private sector, the government, the media, or the civil society organizations, all of us have a role to play to ensure that Nigerians have balanced diet, adequate food, and there is, sufficient food to go around in our country. And we have the resources, to make this happen. So this is the reason why we've got to just put our acts together and ensure that we do the right things to get the right results.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kehinde Makinde is a country manager, Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, and Mr. African Farmer Mogaji, Chairman, Agric Group of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, all right, so we'll be back in a moment. Do go away.